I had gotten online into some chat rooms and ended up engaging in exchanging of graphic materials and, and met up with an undercover agent and was incarcerated because of that.
Hartford police arrest an Arizona man in a sting operation. They say he was in possession of pornography. Russel Barney, a 55-year-old man, was arrested at a Hartford truck stop. Police say one of their officers posed as a 15-year-old girl online. Barney allegedly agreed to meet up with them under the pretense of a encounter. He's charged with attempted sexual contact with a minor and attempted assault.
Now, this was a classic bust, similar to the ones that we watched from Alex Rosen or EDP, but in this case, it was the Hartford police along with the FBI that arranged this sting operation. Now, what's crazy about this is that he was only busted in 2024, only sentenced in 2025, just 6 months before this parole hearing. Now they found him with CP on his device. They found him that he confessed to essaying to family members, and they had him, of course, for this sting. Why they didn't throw the book at them? Who knows? It's probably because of the weak on crime Connecticut prosecution and judges, those who do nothing to protect the children in their state. But to add insult to injury, he also only needs to register for 10 years.
Russel Barney, 447-914.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Russel Barney, inmate number 447-914. He's serving a sentence of 8 years, execution suspended after 3 years, followed by 10 years of probation for criminal attempt at illegal contact with a victim less than 16 in possession of child material in the third degree. Less than 20 depictions. He is to be sex offender registry for a period of 10 years. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of September 14th, 2025. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan in place. It has been reviewed and shows that he has completed programming that consists of a short-term treatment program. Utilizing a statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls in the moderate range risk for recidivism. And utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for offense recidivism falls in the low to moderate range. Mr. Barney, this is now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole, and you may begin.
Thank you for your consideration. Since I've been incarcerated, I've been able to reflect on the actions of my behavior, what caused me to do what I did. If I should get out, I plan on getting psychological help, a job, going to any counseling I can find, go to see if I can find a well-brighty group to join. I've also found out what my triggers are and plan on staying away from those activities. I plan on getting back into leather work and helping out in the community any way I can. I'll do whatever programs are required, check in with probation and parole, whatever I need to do to be able to get back home and not come back into the system.
Thank you, Mr. Barney, for your statement. We have questions for you. When we're done, we'll discuss your case and give you our decision here today.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll begin with my colleague, Mr. Zarkov.
Good morning. Mr. Barney, why don't you explain to us why you're incarcerated?
I had gotten online into some chat rooms and ended up engaging in exchanging of materials and and met up with an undercover agent and was incarcerated because of that.
What was happening in your life that,
Say again?
what was something happening in your life that made you do this? Like, what led you down this road?
I was on the road a lot. I ended up unhappy in my marriage, sexually frustrated, and like I said, got talking with other people, and they kind of helped guide me into this direction, and I will not be going to do that ever again.
Okay. I want to follow up on some statements that you made to the parole officer during your interview. One point you mentioned that you needed to get caught to stop. There's another statement where you said, I needed this so things would not have progressed any further. Can you elaborate on what you meant?
I was headed down a bad road, and like I said, by getting caught, it shocked me out of the mindset that I was in and turned me to a different direction, turned my life around.
You were found in possession of child pornography, right?
Yes, sir.
When did that start for you?
Approximately 5 years ago, or about 6 years ago now, because of the incarceration.
Okay. Can you talk about what you learned about yourself from the suspended program?
I learned that being involved in the chat groups I was in, that there was more going on than I had anticipated. It was supposed to be a role-playing fantasy, and people ended up sending me pictures and things like that. And it just progressed from there.
In your opening statement just now, you mentioned that you found out what your triggers are. What are your triggers?
The fantasy chat rooms where there's like father-daughter incest and just stuff like that.
Can you talk about your release plan?
I've got family that I can stay with. I plan on getting a job, doing whatever I can in my home state. If I can work on a ranch. I can do farming. There's a lot of things I can do. I won't be picky as to what I can do when I get home. I plan on staying active, so I'm not on the internet.
Can you talk about what you've learned from this incarceration?
I learned that it's no fun to be incarcerated. You don't realize what freedoms you have until they're taken away. And that I definitely miss my family, my friends, my support group.
Okay, well, thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Zerka. Mr. Sosowskis?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, sir.
in some of the statements that I read while you were talking over the internet, you had told the people that you had previously assaulted, like physically assaulted children in your family. And then later that didn't happen. I'm just trying to understand why you would tell someone something like so horrible like that if it wasn't true.
It was fantasy role play. And I never did say assaulted, but
You know what I'm talking about, I mean. If
Yes, sir.
you were alluding to the fact that you had with children with to the to these people in this chat group who you thought were family members of other children, but it was really undercover police.
yes, sir.
So there is no children in your family that were assaulted by you.
No, sir.
Now, were you drinking? I read about your alcohol use when you were in the military earlier. I think you recognized that it was a problem when you're younger in your life. But during what was going on here, were you drinking during this time?
Very rarely, sir. I'd have a beer with a meal once in a while. And that was very rare in between anyway.
So when you were sending these messages to the undercover officer, you were not intoxicated. You were clear-headed. You were sending these messages back and forth.
Yes, sir. I was on the tired side, but not intoxicated.
What did you think was going to happen when you arrived to meet these people at the truck stop? What did you think was going to happen?
I didn't know what would happen. Thought I'd at least go say hi to them and then leave. I had no intention of doing anything.
But you had taken a shower right before that, though, right? Getting ready to meet them?
I hadn't gotten into the shower before they got there, but I was planning on getting a shower before I left the truck stop anyway.
Right. So you want to live out of state with a family member? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you don't have any employment that's guaranteed, but you feel like you're employable. You can find a job.
I am hoping I can. I may have a possibility of hauling containers, but I'll have to see when I get home, or if I get home.
Is your CDL still valid now?
Other than my medical, yes, sir.
All right, I think that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You know, Mr. Barney, we're not here to retry your case, but I do want to make sure you take full responsibility for everything you did, because it was a lot more extensive than what you explained to my colleagues. You know, I mean, you had conversations about meeting up and assaulting a minor, right? I mean, and you
Yes,
yourself were providing clips. So, you know, in order for you to rehabilitate, you have to be able to speak about this freely. You're going to have to do treatment in the community for a long time. So
Yes,
you need
ma'am.
to get comfortable with accepting full responsibility. And you drove a long way, right? You drove from Arizona to commit this crime, right?
No, ma'am. I was actually passing through the area.
Oh, okay. You were working?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I mean, do you understand the restrictions you're going to have in the community?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did someone explain to you? You're prepared for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. When you talk about well-variety group, do you have something in mind?
It is a Native American group. It's like combination of Alcoholics Anonymous, NA, but it's a well-variety for the whole being,
Right.
your whole system.
But are you familiar with a specific program
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
community? Where is it?
I would have to find it in Arizona, but I learned about it while I was incarcerated in Cheshire with Elder Delahunty.
Okay. All right. And you also mentioned your your triggers, tell us what your triggers are.
Internet chat groups with adult themes, things like that. And I plan on staying away from any of those groups. I don't even want to go onto the internet.
That's your only trigger, but something led you there, right? So there have to be other triggers. There must be other triggers.
It was the fact that I was really frustrated and
Yeah,
alone.
you mentioned that. Yeah. So how will you handle those things, those other triggers, personal triggers in the future?
I will stay celibate. I will stay around family members that can keep me occupied and such, have activities.
So you feel
that,
the need to be celibate to avoid committing further crimes?
no, ma'am, it's a personal choice.
Okay. All right. Well, these are all things you can work out in your treatment in the community.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for answering our questions. We're going to enter into deliberation. You can listen to our discussion and we'll come back to you with our decision shortly.
Right,
Mr.
thank you,
Zarkov?
ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Barney is rated moderate, at risk of recidivate. He's rated low, moderate on static 99. Sexual offense recidivism. This is his fourth incarceration and does not appear to have any criminal history. At the same time, this is a very, very serious offense. The sentence was really based on the severity of the content of conversations on the line. Sure, very troubling to say the least. I don't have Mr. Barney going to discretionary parole today, simply because of the nature and circumstances of the offense.
Okay. Mr. Sadowski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yeah, I mean, these obviously these nature and circumstances of this are just, it's difficult to read, really, but he has completed the sex offender program in the facility. He's not gotten any disciplinary reports. Does not have a criminal history. It looks like he has served in the military at one point. He's not on a discharge. He talked about some of the things he learned in the sex offender program and how he's going to avoid these problems in the future. Does have some support from his family out of state. So, and there's, I understand this case very serious, but there's not a identifiable victim per se, person that I read about. So for me today, I was willing to grant a discretionary parole so he could move on to treatment in the community.
I agree. And I think the fact that he recognizes that he needs more treatment and, he's pretty much asking for more treatment and he has planned for what he's going to do in the community is helpful. And while it is difficult to talk about, I think he does accept full responsibility for what he's done. And I think he'll do whatever possible to try to avoid committing similar crimes in the future. So I too would be willing to. And I have a whole lot of conditions to include parole to interstate with a halfway house if needed, problem sexual behavior treatment, no contact with minors, enhanced internet and device monitoring, and a restriction on pornography. Do you have anything further?
I just had a question on alcohol, but when we talked to him, I don't really think that this played a big role.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, so I was just with the group that you had.
Okay. Thoughts on the conditions?
Okay.
Okay,
No thoughts on conditions?
very good.
Minority.
Right, yeah. Okay, in the matter of Russel Barney, inmate number 447914, I'll move to grant parole effective September 26th, 2025, with the following additional conditions. You'll parole to the interstate unit to go to Arizona, a halfway house placement if it's needed. You'll participate in problem sexual behavior treatment in the community. You're to have no contact with minors. You'll have enhanced internet and device monitoring, and you'll have a restriction on. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
So this is a majority decision. Board member Zarkov dissenting. Do you have a question, sir?
No, ma'am.
All right, keep working on yourself, okay? We wish you the best.
All right, thank you.
This concludes the hearing for Russell Barney, inmate number 447914. You're all set, sir. You can step out of the room now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody who is not a parole board member, at least two of the three parole board members, will be just shaking their head in complete shock. Because what we just saw and then what the parole board just said makes absolutely no sense. They say that he is taking accountability. They say that he needs to get paroled so that he can take programs on the outside. They even advocate on his behalf to make it not a parole condition that he doesn't have to stop drinking. Let him drink. They find out and make sure, do you have a job on? Oh, your CDL license is still valid. Great. Maybe you can come back to our state and commit another crime. What's his plan to not offend again? He'll be celibate. Does that not tell you everything that you need to know? I mean, forget the fact that, of course, that's the most insane plan to have, period. But that what it tells you is that the only type of sex that he has is with little ones, which we knew already, right? That's what their brains are wired differently. They're chomos. You know, you see the likes of Alex Rosen catching these people, 5 of them every week. You could literally copy paste him from a catch to this parole hearing. It's the same person, the same interview, the same deadpan eyes. And if you think for one moment that he didn't do things, the same things that he bragged about to the FBI, then you could be a parole board member. We see this all the time. You know, the FBI, they did a good sting to catch him. They got him sending images. They got him to come to the truck stop. They had a plan. He was going to shower. It was all, they handed the prosecution this man on a silver platter. He even had CP on his device. And what does the state of Connecticut do? With all the professionalism from the FBI, with all the documentation, with everything, CP, they give him a plea deal where he has a maximum sentence of 3 years in prison. He was sentenced February 5th, 2025. Sentenced February 5th, 2025. He has his parole hearing 6 months later. But don't worry, everybody. He's a low risk to reoffend in the static 99. We'll go over the static 99 in a second. I just got to get some stuff off my chest. Do you know that Connecticut legislation allows for the second charge that he got a plea deal for, which was knowingly possessing CP, 20 visuals or less? That's his plea deal. I wonder if it was somehow magically under 20 images, not 21 images, not 49 images, because that would make it now up to 10 years they could sentence him. But they plea him to under 20 images. That alone, they could have given him a 5-year sentence for. 2 full years more than the 3 years they gave him. Does that not tell you everything you need to know about how Connecticut feels about protecting their children? A truck driver coming through their state to assault a child of their state? But they are too busy. They are too busy protecting these felons, protecting chomos, protecting repeat felons. We're tired of it. I want a DA to come and sit across from me, a judge to sit across from me, look at me, and talk to me as if I am the 15-year-old girl that the FBI was pretending to be, and say, now explain this to me like I'm 15. Explain it to me like I'm 7. If this man came there to do that, if he admits in writing that he had assaulted other people, that he admits in writing that he plans to now come and do this assault, that he has now images on his phone that are irrefutable, no jury, even OJ's jury, couldn't help but say, yes, these images are on his phone. Why not even just take that and give him the 5 years? Now, we are so accustomed, right, to DAs and judges saying, we gave a plea deal to the chomo because we didn't want to put the victim through the trauma of going and taking the stand. And they say that, and they say it, and they say it, and they say it, and they say it, and they always use that as the excuse for why they give a chomo a light sentence. But there is no excuse in this crime. All you would have done is put the FBI on the stand, and they would have been happy to take it. There's no re-traumatizing of victims in this case. Why the plea deal? This was a slam dunk case. And then to add insult to injury, he only needs to register for 10 years. What you're telling me is that this man, who is about 58 years old right now, within 10 years will be driving his truck with no requirements to register. But don't worry, he's a low risk to reoffend. Do you want to see how the low risk score works? Let me show you. This is the static 9-9. Almost all 50 states in America use this 10-question assessment to find out the risk of a predator. Now, this static 9-9 was created by 2 entrepreneurs, a Canadian and a UK chap, in the 90s. It was not peer reviewed. There's no publicly available data. They just came up with it, trust them, and they make millions of dollars selling it to the DOC, selling the training on how it works. Now, the way that it works is their most important question is age. You see, and how it works is that the lowest score you have, the lower risk you are. Now, if you are age 60 or older, you start with a -3 score. They believe that the older you get, the less risk you are. Now, in very short, what that means is this chomo, because he'll be 60 by the time, in a few years. So he's a -3. Now they'll ask, have you ever lived with the lover? If you say yes, you get 0 points, which is so insane because, as we know, these chomos often do live with mothers, oftentimes the mothers of their victims. Then you can go down the list. Let me just jump to the point. Prior sex offenses. If you answer yes, I have had 4 plus, so 4 to 5 prior sex offenses, you would get a whopping 3 points. Now, what does that mean? That means if you had 4 prior sex offenses, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but you are 60 years old, you, because you only have 1 point now, would be considered a low risk to reoffend. This is the 10-point questionnaire which all or almost all states in America use to evaluate offenders. Now, we know anybody with a couple of brain cells to rub together, anybody who is not a chomo or a parole board member or a judge or a district attorney knows that this is insane. How come it is being used to control and protect our children? Why? Now, there's only one logical answer that I can think of, and that is because this was designed to indemnify the parole boards, to indemnify those who release predators back into our streets. They don't want to they want to say when something happens, oh, what do you mean? We're using the risk assessment score. We all use it. Because the prisons are overflowing. Now, it's much more complicated to release a murderer. They release murderers too, but it's more complicated. You know, someone in the press might write about it. It might offend someone. But chomos, they're victims. The victims are already shunned. They're already quiet. They're not going to get up there. A 5-year-old's going to go up and say, "Wait, you can't let my monster out." And this is going to continue and to continue and to continue until we, the sheeple, scream loud enough, until someone with a loud enough megaphone brings this to the public. This is madness. Anybody who sees it can't unsee it. And then I just can't. I cannot wrap my mind around how it's possible that we use this today. It makes no sense. Low risk. But don't worry. The man who fantasizes about incest is going to go spend time with his family to make sure he doesn't reoffend. Let's hope they don't have kids, right? It's these same prisons which, in Connecticut, the biggest skill that they're giving these inmates, including chomos, are CDL licenses. Do you know that? I wonder which lobbyist group, how much money or whatever they did to get in favor for the CDL training company. Can you imagine what it costs to train thousands of inmates how to drive a truck? The cost of just managing that, forget the cost of the trainers, but it's got to be multi-million-dollar a year contract where they're training felons to drive trucks, where they're training tromos to drive trucks and giving them licenses. So it's like, oh, you're out of prison, here, go, here's your license across the country. You know, they had enough time to lock him away for decades, and he would never have won that. He wouldn't have won in court. But instead, he's out in just a couple of years with a pat on the back and a license to drink booze. Someone has to order this man some fried pickles so we can keep our streets safe. And with that, I'll let you go.
What did you think was gonna happen when you arrived to meet these people at the truck stop? What did you think was gonna happen?
I didn't know what would happen. Thought I'd at least go say hi to them and then leave. I had no intention of doing anything. I will stay celibate. I will stay around family members that can keep me occupied. And,
Tell us what your triggers are.
internet chat groups with adult themes, incest.